This is a news story that I want to make more famous. I want to make this story more popular. I want to talk about a sad story, a police state, a nanny state. Oh, I'm so supportive of the police. I will even die for them if necessary if I see a police officer having his life taken away in an altercation, etc. But I'm going to talk about the fascist pigs, in this case, that arrested Brittany Patterson of Georgia. Here's the story. On October 30th, in the state of Georgia, just a few hours from where we live here in Tennessee, an unknown woman saw a boy walking alongside the Mineral Bluff Highway in the Blue Ridge Mountains area, and she called the police. Watch this video.
A Georgia mother facing jail time because her 10-year-old son walked into town by himself. She says she was annoyed that he didn't tell her where he was going, but insists that he was never in any danger. Then sheriff's deputies showed up at her home to arrest her. ABC's Andrew Fujii has the details.
Police body camera video shows the moment Brittany Patterson was arrested for letting her 10-year-old son walk into town by himself.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment.
And how was I recklessly endangering my child?
We're not talking about it.
On October 30th, Patterson said she took one of her children to the doctor. In the meantime, her son, Soren, who since turned 11, decided to walk less than a mile into town from their home in rural Mineral Bluff, Georgia. While out, Patterson got a call from the sheriff's department, worried that Soren was walking alone.
I wasn't concerned. I wasn't, panicking or concerned because it's just a short walk from our house. He knows how to get home. He knows how to get there.
Authorities dropped Soren off at home, and 5 hours later, they returned.
Call mommy and tell them they're taking you to jail because you decided to walk down the street.
Let go of your hands. That's not his fault.
Yeah, call mommy.
You're the mother. That's your responsibility.
Last time I checked, it wasn't illegal for a kid to walk to the store. So.
It is when they're 10 years old.
Patterson was booked on suspicion of reckless conduct, a charge that could carry 1 year in jail. The warrant claiming she willingly and knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son.
Our criminal justice system is built on the fact that you did something or you were negligent. You did something criminally negligent. So what is it she did?
Authorities have offered to drop the charge if Patterson signs a safety plan that includes the use of a GPS tracker on her son's phone. But she refuses to sign it or admit doing anything wrong.
I just felt like I couldn't sign that, and that in doing so would be agreeing that there was something unsafe about my home or something unsafe about my parental decisions, and I just don't believe that.
Brittany Patterson is out on bail, awaiting to see if prosecutors will indict her on the reckless conduct charge.
Now, as you saw in this video, the Finnin County Sheriff's deputies arrived and they detained the 10-year-old boy. The boy, later identified as Soren, told them that he was walking to the Dollar General store, that he was okay, he was not in danger, he was not unsafe, he wasn't a runaway, he wasn't in danger at all, and that the Dollar General store was less than 1 mile from where he lived, in a town of less than 400 people, by the way. Deputies called Soren's mother right there, Johnny on the spot. They called Brittany Patterson to confirm the story and also to interview her and also to chastise her. Brittany assured them that her son was safe and that the road that he was on was not dangerous, that she had left home to take her other child to a doctor's appointment. She also told them that she didn't know that he was going to the store. She told the deputies that she intended to take Soren with her to the doctor's appointment for the other sibling, but she did not want to be late to her doctor's appointment. It was one of those situations. What do I do? Soren's not getting in the car. Am I late to the appointment? Do I skip the appointment or I just go? Because what's important to understand here, folks, which the police aren't telling the news media, or the news media is not telling everybody, is he was never left home alone. But I still believe in this case, in this incident, it would have been okay. Remember, they live in a rural country area, just like right here. We live in an area that's much more rural than this place in Georgia. We live way in the back of the woods. We live a different. We have a different life, much more liberty and freedom here than people do in the city. She assumed that Soren was probably playing in the woods, and that's why he was late getting to the car. And again, besides, her grandfather was in the house. And other families lived nearby, just moments away. So she left to the doctors without Soren. The deputies gave Soren a ride home, but hours later, and when they gave her a ride home, they dropped him off. She assumed that everything was okay, that this was brushed under the rug and it was all a misunderstanding and or that it was all just going to go away. No, they returned hours later armed with an arrest warrant, and they arrested Brittany for the charge of quote-unquote reckless conduct. More on those words later. Brittany was arrested in front of her family, and as you can see in that video, one of the children, I think it was Soren perhaps, even asked, Mommy, why are they taking you away? Why are they arresting you? And she said, because Soren, or because you decided to go to the store. And the female deputy had the guts, or lack of guts, to correct the mother in front of the children and belittle her and say it wasn't his fault. It was the mother's responsibility. In other words, it wasn't the child's fault. Actually, it was the child's fault. It was not the mother's fault. But they took her away. They booked her. They took photographs. They fingerprinted her. They stripped her clothes away, put her in an orange jumpsuit, and booked her into the county jail system. Now, since this arrest, she bailed out quickly, thankfully, while out on bail. And this is unusual because this rarely happens. But within 2 weeks, because this just happened 2 weeks ago, within 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks actually, the authorities recontacted her while she's out on bail and offered her a plea bargain. I would say they legally bribed her. They offered her a plea bargain and stating that if she would sign a contractual court agreement to put a global positioning satellite device on her son, more specifically, to put a GPS tracking device, an app on her son's cell phone, that they would drop the charges. In other words, not only did they want her mother to monitor his position, which, by the way, is wise, but a parent not have the freedom and liberty to do that on their own, not be told by Uncle Sam to do that. But obviously, the deputies and the authorities wanted to be able to track her son as well, which means he would lose freedoms. Now, it's true that children don't have the freedoms that adults do, but the government in this case should not have right to track little Soren. And I imagine this app probably would even track the position of the mother and the father, the grandparents, to know where they are at all times too, compared to where their sons are. The government has no business intruding and invading our property, our freedom that way. Understandably, Brittany refused the plea bargain. She told NBC News, and I quote, "This is not right. I did nothing wrong." She continued to say, "I'm going to fight for that," close quote. Brittany, not only are you fighting for your rights and the rights of your family, you are fighting for all of our rights by remaining steadfast and not giving into this tyranny. And we thank you, and I commend you for your bravery in this regard. The deputies who arrested her, it's not known too much about them. As you can see, the body cam footage was on the male officer, which showed it. The field of view was showing Brittany as well as the female deputy. But the female deputy, according to her name tag, her last name is Robertson with a T, first initial of K. Further investigation reveals her name is Kaylee Robertson. That's Kaylee, Robertson. Now, I'd like to know what Kaylee Robertson's tattoos mean on her body, especially the one written on the forearm. I kind of wonder about that, but that's for another podcast. The only reckless, quote-unquote, reckless conduct in this case were the deputies and the social services and the prosecutor's office. Their nanny state is part of the police state, and their police state is part of the nanny state. And their nanny state are, in fact, fascist pigs. An overreaching, overprotective big government that wants Caesar or the state or the county to be your daddy. Their nanny state and their corrupt children's socialist services department, they want to control and overprotect and educate our children as well as the adults' lives. But Brittany, you wisely homeschooled your children, at least some of them. That is wonderful. Other than the tyrants involved in this case, the only one that should be disciplined is Soren for not telling his grandpa or his parents that he was going to the store and or not asking them if he could. That's who was wrong here, and that's who should be disciplined because the Bible is very clear on that. throughout the New Testament. It's even one of the big 10, one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt honor thy mother and father, Soren. Hopefully somebody will teach you about that. That's why I'm an evangelist, to give the law and the gospel to the public. Brittany's attorney, in closing, Brittany's attorney is representing her pro bono. He's not charging her personally, but he does need money to help him finance this defense, to go against seizure, to go against these tyrants. So he did set up a GoFundMe account, which is much needed for their financial support. So I will put a link in the description field for their GoFundMe account. It goes through the attorney, as well as in my blog post. Until we see you again.